Alright, here we go. It is time to get into how you do multiverse overload. Now this is a re-record, but it's because the previous video had like really awful quality, so hopefully this works out better. Alright, let's start from the beginning here. From the very start, you have these bullet waves, which you should be familiar with from lower difficulties. They're not really an issue. What you want to watch out for are these kunai waves, because these are new. These kunai waves are aimed, but they only reset their aim every couple waves. I think it's every 4 or every 3. Yep, so you can see it's 1, 2, 3, then they move. 1, 2, 3, and then they move. So you only need to move over a slight bit. And essentially, you start from the left side and you lead it over to the right. And that will prepare you for the next section. Make sure that you're on the right side when you begin this section. They're going to start throwing these aimed Oreos at you, right? So you have these ones here, and again, before you're going from left to right, here you're moving right to left. Now what I tend to do as well is I try and build a bit of verticality. What this does is it makes the gap between these Oreos a bit wider. If you were just sitting down here, then this gap would be a lot smaller. And then I've also stalled an extra bit. But yeah, if you go vertical, essentially the diagonal gets drawn out a bit further, and that gives you a better gap to go through. Then you make your way back to the right. Now this bit's a bit sus. This is a choose your lane option. A lot of people have different safe spots for this. My personal one is about here. It's up to you the way you want to take this. As you will see, this is quite sus. This is 720p. All right, that's a bit, it looks a bit grainy. But if you watch here, it just like happens to be a correct gap. And even I don't get this gap consistently, so honestly, it'll take a bit of fiddling to really get it down. There's a few ways you can do it. You can ride the wave up, or you can just like try and sit and find a safe spot. But essentially, you just have to seek out a safe spot that works for you. There isn't really a surefire way to do it. Now, the way I tackle this void ring section is I start in the bottom right, and you just move along with it just like in lower difficulties. That's normal, right? So this is the same as on hard. There is a kunai wave here. Again, this is just safe spotting. It's all about just like once you learn the chart, um, you'll just like know where to go. I can't really give that much advice here. If you just want to follow my exact route, well, here it is. What I also do is I sneak around and I grab a charge shot. That's not necessary at all. You can just like sit there. But this is just me being greedy. You make your way around the circle again. Sit down here, watch out for the second wave here. And then from here, what I do is I swing in and out of the circle every time the Oreos move out. What some people do, and what I've learned to do now with the scoring strats, is you go in for one beat, you shoot with a charge shot. So you do this, but then you also use a beat where you shield out of the circle, and then you shoot again to get an extra charge shot. So this is the old strat where I'm just like swinging in and out. I feel like this is a little bit safer because the timing is not so like tight. But again, what some people do is they go in, and then they'll shield out. Like they'll shoot, they'll shield to move out, in again, shoot, shield, get the charge shot, shoot when they're on the outside again. Up to you how you tackle it. If you want to see that strat, I believe Misha's video does that. Um, so that's a good example of that. You just crash here as usual, and then if you have not taken a hit so far, you can just crash for the rest of this section, which is nice. Crash. So if you crash into this bit, then you have insurance against these voids here, and so you'll be able to sit in the middle and watch the laser. Another sneaky thing you can do is because of the fact that you have core module timings on this song, and any song where you have a special style, you can delay your final shot for when the blue zone comes in and enter with 8 combo. I didn't get it here, but it's something you can do. This section is different from other difficulties because in other difficulties it is a preset like static pattern, but in Overload it's random. So again, this is just something you have to read. If you really want to be safe, you could just shield aggressively and not shoot at all. You do not need to be shooting during this section. Alright, this bit here is, again, if you want to be extra safe, you can just shield the blue, and then you're going to have like a way bigger gap for yourself. Otherwise, again, you can just watch and see where my route is. There isn't really much to say about it, aside from it's just positioning. Okay, there's also a certain point here where you can crash twice to enter the upcoming section. All right, so I'm going to turn it up so you can actually listen to it. But if you get the music cue down, then you'll be good. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, crash 2, 3, 4, crash 2, 3, 4. And because of the fact that you crashed, that's pretty good for scoring, and also you'll have like crash invincibility, and you'll just have to dodge this last wave here. All right, this section here, you're going to need to move up here because it blocks the bottom bit from the get-go. These kunais are aimed, but sort of weirdly. So the first and third sets are aimed directly at you, and the second set here is slightly offset. So all you have to do is move a slight bit. So you can either move between this gap or this gap, and you'll be safe. Then from here, here's the target, right? You go from this bottom bit here, and you move up here, and you repeat. That's the vertical movement that you need to do during this section. So just focus on that. Up, down, up, down, up, down. Okay, and now let's talk about the horizontal movement. So similar to in the intro, I was talking about how there are the aiming resets every 3 kunais. Essentially, it's the same idea here, right? So you're down here. Here's 1 set, 2, right? So you move over, 3, right? So these 3 are going to be aimed at your prior position, and by the time that this first one is past you, you would have moved to the right already. You move right, and then you move up, and then these ones are aimed at you now, right? So you move left, and then up, down, right, up. Right, so you're making like a U shape. I'll just go back again. Up, down, right, up, down, left, up, down, right, up. And then at this point, this is like, I think it is aimed in the same way that the set at the start is. That is, from what I can tell, so you know how like these were, the first and the third one were aimed and the second one slightly offset? I think it's the same with this like fast set as well. So you can see here that this first one and this third one seem to be aimed at my previous position, while this one's slightly offset. And then does the same thing again here, where this one, the first and the third one are aimed and the second one's offset. But again, it's sort of finagly, so at this point you just want to be like just reading the kunais. Okay, this bit, I'm sorry, I can't give you very much advice for it. Just shield, make sure you're shielding, and then you get like no time to read it. I'm sorry, it just is the way the game works. I can't really give much good advice, but I can give you at least like a couple ways to try and read this. So let's step back. All right. So they're going to go out, and then you won't be able to read them now. But here's a couple ways that I've picked up and other people have picked up as sort of just like basic ideas for how to read this. One way you can try to read it is, of course, just read the blue and the black. If you read the first laser, every laser afterwards alternates, right? So if you read left on the first one, it will be right and then left, and then the next set will start on the right. So I'll show you that more clearly in a moment. You can try and read the first two. That's really hard though. One thing that you can try is look at one of the sides. So I'm just going to check left, and the only thing you need to read is this blue or is this void, right? It's like a binary thing. It's just blue or void. If it's blue, you go left. You say yes, go left. And if it's void, no, go right. That's another way to think about it. It means you only need to read one laser, but also you might get mixed up with the one behind it. So that's confusing. Another way to try and read it is to look at what laser is like sandwiched between. So if you notice there are 2 blues and 1 void, then you'll know that you have to go left. But if it's voids and there's a blue sandwiched in between, you go right. Again, this is all just sort of like ideas you can use, and maybe one of them will work for you, maybe none of them will work for you. It's pretty brutal. The song is really rude. This is probably like one of the most inconsistent parts of the song, aside from like maybe chorus is just as inconsistent. But even chorus was like kind of learnable. This is a brutal part of the song. So don't worry if you die here over and over, because unfortunately they're asking you to just like react in like half a beat or something like that. It's kind of ridiculous. Alright, I will highlight though. So the first set was left, right, left, which means that, as I said, you alternate every set. Every laser alternates. And so because the last set ended with a left, you go right. So it goes right, left, right. Here, what I do is I ride the wave. So you need to go to the you need to go to the upper left of the circle here. And the idea is you swing here, you take the charge shot, be careful of this set. One of these can very easily hit you. You start moving to the right, and you swing all the way up as well. This will take a bit of practice. There was a certain time where we thought that this was actually not possible, because it is very tight to execute. I'll show it in full speed in a moment. But yeah, you just ride the waves. Now, if you ride the waves though, it will give you safety for the next set. You can see I have 35 combo here. What this means is you can ignore the first set of lasers here if you want to. So you can crash and shield. And you will know what way the lasers are going to go, because again, they alternate from the previous set. So again, the last set finishes with... what is it? Here we go. So it's right, left, right, left. Right, it ends on right, which means the next set will start on left, so you will know that it starts on left. But in case your memory is foggy, or even just so that you don't need to do these like half-beat inputs, right? Anything that you can do to make the song slightly more consistent, anytime you can just like use Crash to skip stuff, I would highly recommend it, because any bit of consistency you can get in the song is going to make it like way less of a grind where you're just like bonking into a wall repeatedly, because these lasers give us so much grief. Everyone just like bleh. Begin our highlight, so shielding when the lasers come in because they're not going to hurt you, and then just crash 2, 3, right? And then you'll just have to do this laser set. But again, you should know where it starts because it alternates from the previous set. Do this set, and then you ride the wave again. So you go up here, ride it to the upper left, dodge this set, and ride this to the upper right. And if you feel unsafe as well, by this point you are going to have enough combo to crash again. So instead of riding the whole way up, you might just want to crash in the middle here and just like return to the center. But like you can see, it gets very sus. You have to be very, very, very careful. Otherwise you are going to get hit. So again, for consistency's sake, it's probably worth just crashing if you can. Alright, and now in full speed. Shield, shield. Take a read. Good luck. Bleh. Alternate. Ended on right is going to start the next one on left. Starts on right. Yeah. Ride the wave. Ride the wave, crash if you need to. This bit again is just like completely random. So it's just watching. And this bit here, you should be okay at this point. If you're playing multiverse and if you've gotten this far, you probably know how to read this bit. The one thing I'll highlight is just watch where the laser's up to so you know how close it is to you. Because it's very easy to get caught off guard by this laser, but it only comes around like, well, it takes a while for it to circle back around again. So just like watch it and stay away. Alright, this bit, hopefully if you didn't take a hit, you can crash through every single set of these like Oreos that come towards you. So you can see I'm crashing here. If you don't have the combo for it, what you can do is there's a safe spot. If you hide around here-ish, again, I believe Misha's video should have this. I might pull it up and show some of those alternate strats actually. If you hide here, there is a gap, as you can see. Not very clearly, but there is a gap here. But ideally, again, you just crash because any bit of consistency you can get without having to do like little precision things is better for you because you'll get further into the song and get more practice of the later sections. Alright, Snake strats. Here's the thing with Snake. I'm just going to highlight using these middle columns because they're the most obvious ones. These kunais are in like very specific lanes. And there are parts where the kunais are never going to cross, right? So for example, I'm just going to let it play for a bit so you can see the whole lane, right? You have a lane here and you have a lane here. That means that you are completely safe if you sit here or here. So when you enter snake, what you want to do is you want to whip all the way up here to the top right and locate the safe spot that is almost parallel to the snake, right? So there is a spot between, so there's this kunai here and this kunai underneath you, and it is safe. And you can sit there for a few beats. Right? So I will just let the music play out so you can actually listen for how long I'm sitting there for. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I start moving down. So it's after 12 beats, you move down and anticipate the spiral that's coming out. Now, these spirals are also static patterns. They will occur the same way every time. This first spiral is, what is this direction? It's like, I guess you would call it anti-clockwise, right? Yeah. Anyway, they go in this direction, right? So they curve this way, which means if you wanted to follow the spiral, you move left with it. And you'll see that's what I do here. So move left with the spiral. And then you're also going to need to like cross the spiral a bit. Anytime where you need to cross a pattern is a bit risky. So you want to minimize that as much as possible. And so the reason I come over to the right here is because since I'm following the spiral to the left, I get to follow it for a little while and I only need to cross it like once or twice. So you can see here, I've chosen this part of the spiral. I'm crossing against it. Again, you'll have to watch for these lanes. But the idea here is because that you know that you're inside the spiral and you're moving left with it, it's not just like a mess of bullets, right? It's just a spiral. So if you look at kunai lanes and little Oreo spirals, it's just two quote-unquote simple patterns, right? If you can break the pattern down into a way that's digestible, it's much easier to read. Right, so I'm dodging these kunai lanes and I'm moving left inside this bit of the spiral. And then I cross the spiral once. Yeah, I only need to cross once. You might want to cross twice in case going up here is a bit risky to you. But you only cross the spiral when absolutely necessary. Right, so that one was going anti-clockwise. The next one is going to go clockwise, which means if you want to follow it, you move to the right. And that's what I want to do here. So I've chosen this part of the spiral to follow, and I'm going to move right with it. And you can see I didn't need to cross the spiral at all. I stayed in one segment. All right, then you move over to the left, and again, you're going to deal with an anti-clockwise spiral, so it's going to move up this way, right, this way. And again, you follow the spiral if you can. You see that I make a crossing straight away. Again, you make a choice about where you do the crossing, but you should only have to cross once. So I cross down immediately, and then the rest of it I follow the spiral up. All right. You got that down. I know that's a lot to digest, but there's a route for snake. Next thing you need to worry about is the aimed bullets. So here's the route for it. You start at the bottom left. Again, you don't have to be this close. I'm just greeting for damage here. You could be like down here. Ideally, you don't cross this line, but just be between these two. The snake is going to fire at you. You probably shouldn't cross this bit. Again, I'm greeting. Really, you can just like move over here. Move to the left. It's way safer than doing that. Or you can do that and be greedy like me. But the idea is you go into the bottom left for the first shot, right? Then you immediately zip up. And we're going to, again, use the information that this set of kunais is never going to cross this set of kunais. So there is a safe gap between here. Safe. It's tight, but when it shoots at you, you want to make just a tiny movement to the right, right? So you're going to sit here, and you can see I've made a movement to the right. These aimed shots from the Void Snake are very small, so you only need to make tiny adjustments to actually move out of the way. All right, I'm gonna slow it down just so you can see it here. So I'm making my way up here. As soon as it shoots, I make a small movement to the right. And that is enough, right? It looks scary, but because you know it's aimed and you've made a movement, you know for sure that you're going to be safe. All right, after this one has been shot, you want to move into the lane to the right, and so this is just like left of the middle. So you know you're in the right spot if the one next to you is like straight. So you move into this lane here, just wait for a crossing, you cross. All right, the next movement you want to make is you're going to move down. And that might seem weird, but it's because the snake at this point is diagonal to you, so it's going to shoot like up here, which means if you move down, you're out of the way. Wait for the shot, move down. And you can see it's completely safe. It's A-okay. Alright, this next move is probably like the most sus aimed shot. You want to cross this back through this lane again. And you want to sit basically in the spot that you were sitting in for the third or the second aimed shot, right? So when the snake was down here, you make the same movement. So you move up, and you move slightly right. So again, that's like the first shot. It's like this one here. So you just repeat that. So I'll let it play out in full speed. Move up, cross right, and at this point you just follow like the lanes down, but just make gradual movements for every snake shot. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So you can see I'm making very small movements. I only make a big movement when I need to cross a kunai gap. That's one thing that you'll have to watch. Again, watch these kunai lines. But once you cross a kunai line, you're never going to like recross. All right. So here I'm like, oh, this is getting too close. I need to make a big movement because if I wait one more beat, then it's probably going to crash into me. All right. And that's the only big movement I make. Every other movement here is very small. And again, that was a big one because I'm crossing the line. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And then you have to speed up as the Void Snake like increases the frequency of its shots. And keep moving across. If you've made it this far, congrats. Because Snake is super duper scary. I think once you get it down though, it's quite consistent. It's probably... I was talking about how the lasers were like maybe the least consistent part of the song, or maybe second least consistent. This is the other section, which is really inconsistent too. Snake would probably be like the third hardest part of the song, I'd say. Like it's pretty doable once you get the route for it. So you can get it pretty consistently. But here is this part's a mess, right? I can only give general guidance for this section. I'm going to talk through how I do it in this video, as in like in my double S run, and then I'm going to just go through a bunch of different examples afterwards. I'll just talk through the outro first, and then I'll come back to the chorus and talk about it in more detail by bringing up like a billion examples. I think it'll be useful to see. All right, so you can see what I did actually. I forgot to talk about it. You swing all the way to the left. You want these aimed shots to be as far away from you as you can. Here's the catch with chorus. You have 31 beats until the force lasers. Now these force lasers, there's a gap, but you should absolutely, by no means, be expecting to get it. So you want to crash. However, you have 31 beats to do it, and crash costs 32 beats. So here's the issue, right? You need to be either shooting or shielding blues every single beat in the chorus, which is probably, yeah, I think this is probably the least consistent part of the song, right? Every single beat, you need to be accumulating combo. And during one of your beats, you need to get 2 combo or more. If you can get more, then you have like maybe you have like a couple chances to slip up. But you need to be always generating combo. So you want to move these set of like triple spread aimed lasers, which are absolutely awful by the way, all the way to the left, but you want to stay inside the enemy bar because you do want to be accumulating combo. So I move over here, I dash to the right, and they are thicker than you might expect, right? You aim them all the way out here, but they cover like a third of the screen. You need to be out of the way here. You move to the right, and then here's where the random part cuts in, right? During chorus, you're dealing with two different things. Okay, three, sorry. You have the aimed lasers. Secondly, you have these void kunais. Now, these void kunais are static, I think. Actually, they might not be static. However, the direction they go in is always the same. So in the first half of chorus, they're going to move this way, anti-clockwise, I guess, is the way. Yeah, yeah, they move anti-clockwise. Then in the second half, they'll move clockwise. So let's just like focus on that first. So you can see they're always going against you in this case. But then when you reach the next bit here, they're going like with you. Then when you enter the next section, you have them going clockwise. However, they're denser, which is actually one of the most ridiculous things I've had to say about multiverse. The fact that this gets denser is absolutely evil. This is so rude. But yeah, they go clockwise, so they go with you for the first bit. And then they continue to stay going in that direction. Alright, so that's what the Void Kunais are doing. Now, when I say going with you, that probably didn't make much sense. The idea here is that there's a spiral that happens here. Every 16 beats, this spiral will adjust. So the first spiral always goes in this direction here, so it's going clockwise. But the Void Kunais are going anti-clockwise. So while you're moving through the spiral, the kunais are going against you. So I'll just highlight that here, right? So you have these going this way, but then you have the kunais going this way. So expect this to be very, like, sus. But then, as you can see, the changeover at 16 beats in, it's now going anti-clockwise, and you're going with the kunais now, right? So they kind of move in the same general direction, so it's easier to move through. So the first 16 beats are actually more difficult than the latter 16 beats. These are the force lasers I was talking about. Again, there's a gap, but you cannot expect to get it. You should be trying to crash. Alright, now you can see that the spiral is moving clockwise, just like the kunais are. So this first 16 beats of the second half are easier, which helps because they're denser, right? So you can move with the spiral, sort of. But then the second half of chorus, the last 16 beats here, you have the spiral moving anti-clockwise and the kunais moving clockwise. So they're going to be a bit sus all over again. Alright, so with all of that information, I know that's just like a lot of things, but I think it's important to point out what exactly is happening with the pattern, because again, if you can simplify a pattern in your head, you just like know the general idea, the general direction of where things are going, you're going to be able to like see gaps that would have been really hard to see otherwise, right? If you don't know the way that the bullets are moving, then you won't know where the gaps are going to be. Okay, now, as for how to actually do the chorus, move to the left, move to the right. Now, this is where the RNG comes in. Sometimes the spiral will open up to you, like it did for me here, and sometimes it won't. Sometimes there will be blues inside the spiral that opens up, sometimes there won't. If you get lucky like this case, you can see the spiral opening up and there are blues inside. Shoot over to the left and prepare to enter the spiral. Right? So you've entered the spiral now. And this is where, if you're lucky enough to get this set of blue, like the blue part of the spiral, you are probably set for getting the 32 combo. So I'm shooting here and I got like, I got 4 at once and then I got a charge shot. So if you get a charge shot, you're probably safe for the rest of, like up until the force lasers. You should have enough combo. Realistically though, you're probably only getting like two or three blues in not one shot, one shield. But that's good enough, right? So, you've led it to the left again, you lead it to the right, then you're leading it to the left. Here's the catch, right? Exiting the spiral is usually not a safe option. what you're going to have to do is you have to make a crossing through the spiral. So you're going to need to go into the part with no blues. So you set yourself up by making the lasers go all the way out here. You jump over and aim the lasers to the right. Give yourself space to exit the spiral. Right, so you've done here. And this is the bit where you need to cross over. You're going to need to cross between a void and a red. So I'll just go through and highlight where else like could have been a plausible crossing. So like you could cross between this red and void here. You shouldn't because these aimed lasers are like way too sus. There's also the possibility of crossing through this one, but again, the lasers are evidently there, so you can't cross there. But it'll always be between this void and this red. And you're going to need to make like a weird... It's a very sus motion. But you need to cross. Because you can see here that if you were to try and follow the spiral all the way out, you'd probably get caught by these lasers. You might be able to make it to the edge, but again, don't rely on it. More reasonably, just cross through the spiral. Okay, so you're over here. This spiral has opened up to me again, so I'm just very lucky this one, and I do have enough combo for crash. So I can just like chill, just lead the lasers here, lead the lasers back, force lasers come up. That's where you crash. Force. With your crash, you also want to erase any bullets in your way, just while you have the crash, right? Because otherwise things might get messy. So what I do here is I actually didn't erase any bullets, but get yourself into a safe position. Force lasers. I've aimed the next set of lasers to be on the far left again as well. Right? Be mindful of the fact that the aimed lasers are going to start up immediately, again, after the force lasers. So my aimed lasers are over here, then I'm shooting over to the right to get the aimed lasers to go down here. Shooting to the left to get the aimed lasers. I'm looking at the top again here. Can I enter the spiral? Can I not enter the spiral? In this case, I can enter the spiral. So I shoot to the left, enter the spiral, get a good meaty absorb, get lucky again. I'm also looking for when I want to exit the spiral at this point. And again, there's so many things you have to consider during chorus, but that's why it's so inconsistent, right? So you move to the right, move down to the left, and at this point I'm seeing once I move down to the left and move to the right again, I'm going to make my exit. Move left, move right. Again, trying to leave the spiral, especially with the kunais being denser in the second half chorus, too sus. You really just want to make a crossing. As soon as I say that, I don't do it. That's right. This run, I did actually take the gap on the right. The other thing you'll notice as well is even if the lasers don't catch you, this second spiral is probably going to be, like, pose quite a big problem to you. And again, the density of these void kunais means that if you move across, you can see that was very sus. So I got lucky there, but you should be making a crossing out. Out here or out through this one. And then again, I got lucky and entered the blue. I think this double S run, I got very lucky, and they were just like, I was always, like the blue spirals were always the ones that were open to me. Make sure you crash again. At this point, these kunais are going to just wiggle everywhere. They're not even in lanes anymore. They're not spiraling. They're just rude. They're completely random from what I can tell. So you just need to watch these kunais. It used to be that these kunais would get hidden beneath the bullets. If you're playing on the beta build or if you're playing on like the Switch version or Reverse 2.5, if you're like way in the future, you don't need to worry anymore because these kunais are now on top of these void bullets, or like they're on a higher layer, so they won't get obscured. Because this used to be absolutely like ridiculous, because you wouldn't even know that like a void kunai was coming towards you, and you can see that they're wiggling everywhere. It's just like, what is going on here? Hold out for as long as you can. When you have to, crash. We call this the bullet sandwich because the bullets are all just going to surround you and there's no way through it unless you crash. So as you can see here, literally like no exit. So just crash. What I recommend as well is try and get into a central position. So either this bit or this bit, because then you can see the kunais more straight on towards you than if you're on the edge. If you're on the edge, it's harder to like sort of see where the kunais are going. So if you get into the middle, you'll be able to follow the like kunai wiggle a little better. So crash, move up here, and then again you're just watching for these void kunais. And most of these should pass you by like fairly tamely, like they shouldn't cause you much problem. Sometimes you'll have to do something a little crazy like that. Game can be very rude. But once you've made your crash crossing, as long as you don't run into a void kunai, you should be able to at least get like the S. This is where double S might die and you'd be very sad, but at least if you're just going for the S, right, crash, move up over to the center, and then just like kind of do vertical dodges. Outro. Okay, here we are. Last bit. During outro, there's this first bit, don't get hit by those. They're in sets of 4. If you're playing on hard, you'll see that the kunais are in sets of 3, and they never cross each other. In Overload, because they're sets of 4, they overlap with each other, which is completely evil. Look for where the kunais are crossing over each other, because when they cross over each other, they're going to open up, right? So for example, right, so you're watching them, you don't know which way they're going yet. You can see that these two are going towards each other, which means that in a moment they're also going to open up, right? So even though it looks like the gap is closing, you actually want to be in a place where the gap is closing, because then they're going to open in a second. If they're open though, they're about to close, which is a weird thing, but it's sort of like looking ahead. If it looks like it's open, don't trust it. If it looks like it's closed, that's when you trust it. Very weird. All right, so these ones are opening. I can see these two are crossing over each other, so they're going to open up again, right? These ones are crossing over each other, so they're going to open up by the time they reach me. I got very lucky there. All right, this is where things get really sus because you can see, like, the kunais are double crossing on top of each other. You're going to have to make, like, at least probably like 2 sus weird crossings where you don't actually take the inside gap that you would normally take. Because usually you would take this gap and you'd be like, oh, that's happy and fine. But these kunais are on top of it. So you're just going to have to cross through like the middle of a set of 4. Right, because usually you're just going through them. But this one here, you can see the set of 4 here. You're just going to have to cross through either the left or the right. And then you're just looking for more gaps again. And then I'm crossing out of that one. But this one has just opened up. Alright, this is opening up again, so I get to go through it. This is open, but they're about to close in on me, so I have to leave it. I leave. This one is closing in on me again. I have to leave. It's just a bunch of split-second micro dodges. Alright, these ones are opening up, so I get to stay in the middle. I didn't stay in the middle. I just decided to go into this one, which are closing in on me. They're closing in. I have to leave. These ones are opening up. Again, I could have stayed there, but sure. Again, you're looking for open spots, but then the open spots are the ones that are about to close as well. So if you do that consistently, then you're going to have to keep just like leaving. Do I stay here at least? Yeah, I stay here. This looks very scary, but they are going to cross by the time they reach you. These tiny Oreos, I should say, as well, are aimed at you. So you can't sit in one spot for too long because they are going to hit you. Alright, move here. This dodge is very scary, but by this point, there's going to be a void laser that prepares to hit you. And it's okay if you get hit before the void laser comes up. I think again, if you're playing this on the beta build or the new version of the game, the laser triggers like slightly earlier so that it doesn't look like you failed. But yeah, there'll be a big laser that shoots through the middle, and that's when you win. Nice. I'll just highlight how the tiny Oreos aim towards you. Right, so this one's aimed here, that one was aimed to where I was a moment ago. This one here is the one that's aimed at my current position. And you can see that because I'm staying in the middle for a while, all these Oreos are like in the middle. So again, you can't see in one spot. Then when I move over here, the Oreos start getting aimed down here. But because I'm moving back and forth a lot through lanes, I also don't end up running into these. It's another difficult thing though, because you're not going to be thinking of them as like aimed Oreos. It's more if you are sitting in one spot for a while and you get lucky and you just get a bunch of openings in the same spot, that's where you have to be wary of the fact that they're aimed at you, and then you kind of have to like shuffle a little bit even if you're in the same lane every time. But otherwise, it's just a matter of like, you need to make these kunai crossings, but you also need to be watching for these tiny Oreos, because it's very easy for you to lose a run to them. Very rude. Very rude, very rude. This is all awful. Like, there are so many sus crossings here. But that's just the nature of the overload chart. A lot of people say it's consistent, but honestly, this is also not a consistent part of the song. So, at least to me, there's just so many like varying bits where they could double cross and everything. Anyway, that's how you clear multiverse overload. That was 40 minutes long. I hope this helps. That's like not the basics of it, but that just covers the whole song. I'm now going to go through. I think I'll actually pull up Misha's alternate video. Um, to show off some of the alternate strats, and then I'm going to go through like a full-on analysis of how you do chorus depending on where your spirals open up, because that is, I think, probably the most RNG part of the song, because it is just like you don't know whether spiral's going to open up to you or not, and just it's finding those crossings can be very difficult. So I'll go through like a few examples. But if anyone who's just like watching this overview of it, thank you for watching. I hope this helps you. And tell me if you like make progress in the song. I love seeing people like play through multiverse. It is such an incredible chart, but so many people just don't see it, which is fine. It's sort of like by design. It's like meant to be like a secret super boss. But it is legitimately a really good chart, even if some of it's really evil. And it's the overload, so of course it's evil, right? All right, let me grab Misha's video up, and then we're gonna go through some alternate things. Multiverse double S. All right. Okay, so you can see that I think Misha does like a similar strat to me even. Oh, he doesn't aim this first one, but he goes to the left. Moves to the right. Oh yeah, here's like an alternate safe spot as well. I believe he takes the lane, yeah, on the left instead. And he like goes here, which like he follows a wave actually. So this is probably the most like logical way to do it. It's just like follow the wave the whole way. I don't know. It never worked for me though. Just find something that works for you. Please don't do this. This is a Misha only thing. This is actually like so dangerous. Because what he's doing is like he has to cross through. You need to know exactly where the Oreos are coming in and out. Otherwise, you will not be able to do this. I mean, you can. You can learn to do it this way. Never mind. Don't let me dissuade you. If you're going for just like trying to get the S though, this is probably not the way to do it. Just wait on the outside of the circle, or like go around. All right, this is where you can see the strat where you go like in the circle, shield, charge shot out, and shield again. Anyway. Most people follow the circle all the way around though, instead of like the way that Misha's doing it, where he like sort of sits in the same, like he just sits in the bottom half. Most people do it along the outside, similar to what I was doing, but again, they do the shield, charge shot, shield out, charge shot, shield in, charge shot, shield out, charge shot. So you can do it like this as well, and you'll get more combo as well. Like this is good for scoring too. But it's fairly safe. The only thing you need to watch out for is you need to watch out for, so they'll do blue, and then they'll do red as they come out. So you need to watch out for these reds. Aside from that, but that's fine. The rest of this is pretty much the same, I reckon. Does he do the same as me? Yeah, so you can choose not to sit on the floor. I do the floor and the middle, but he does the middle and like the bit above. And I honestly find that a little bit scary because then you're getting closer to like the source of the kunais. Either way though, whatever works for you. Yeah, you can see Misha doing the lasers. He follows this spiral here, but again, this was before we knew that this spiral was possible to take, because it looks like, you know, you're here, how are you meant to take that all the way up? If you prepare yourself correctly, then you will be able to. The old strat was actually to look for, like, this gap. If you find one gap in these kunais, the next gap will be the same. It's kind of wild. So, like, you'll see him finding a spot. Please don't do it like this, though. This is so dangerous. And again, it's very split-second reaction things. But you'll see him crash. Yeah. So again, you follow the spiral just like a little bit, and then you just crash. It's safer that way. Alright, let's skip ahead a bit. Aha, the gap. It looks scary, but it's okay. This is a fairly consistent gap. I think it's one of the easier gaps, just because of the nature of like, there's only so much space in between these, right? Or you can just like sit in this gap if you don't have enough to crash. Or if you want to score. Yeah. Lots that you can do. There's an alternate snake strat here, but I believe this is just, again, this is a Misha only thing. This is if you want to shoot for every single beat during Void Snake. I don't think he misses a shot here. It's very impressive, but it's not very practical. Some of these dodges are way too sus. Like, this is wild. Anyway, I'll speed this up because there's nothing new here, but I think it's like cool. Alright, so Misha does it the other way from the way that I do, where he goes to the right first, then goes to the left. I think it's better to go left first, though, because of the nature of the way these spirals work. You'll see that there's a blue spiral opening here, though, so this is the one that he's going to follow. And you can see by now, this is where you're like, okay, the next time I move left, I'm going to exit out of the spiral. So he's going here, then he's making his exit. Then you're watching for the next set. Are you going to be able to enter this spiral? I don't know if he enters it. He chooses, yeah, to enter it. If you go on this side, it's a bit sus as well, though. It's just that sort of decision making, though. You look ahead and you go, okay, can I... Yeah, actually, no, going on the outside probably would be too sus here. So then you enter this spiral. It's just looking at where the openings are. Force. Yeah, starting on the right. Again, he's following sort of like what I do, where you start again at the point where you started at the beginning of the chorus. Moving left, having to move right, having to move left, having to move right, having to exit the spiral, watching for the opening. Again, the opening is over here, so he's probably going to go all the way out. Try not to aim, when you're entering this spiral on this side, try not to aim it too far this way, because otherwise the wall is not going to be an option, and it's just good to have an option on the left and the right. So what I would have done here is I would exit here, aim shot here, then I would move like here-ish, more like here. That way, if I needed to, I could go to the right or I could go left. Going up and left here is a bit sus, because again, you're going against the spiral, the kunai spiral. So you can see that his dodges here are very, like, weird. But again, it's just a lot of split-second decision-making. Crash. You can say he's staying central as much as possible so that you can, like, actually read the kunais. Holding out for a bit, crashing, going central again just so you can watch. And then you just, like... He has to cross over because I think the bullets are in the way. Yeah. I think he could have stayed there, actually. Anyway. And here's his outro. Again, I don't have that many tips for outro. It's just, like... It's just a bunch of micro dodging. If you can look for openings, that's great. If you can't, well... Like, he also goes into a bunch of situations where he's going into an opening, but then they close in on him, so he has to, like, cross over again anyway. Alright, I won't show the end of Misha's video is absolutely incredible, but I'm gonna make you go watch his video yourself. I'll link it in the description. That's probably a smart idea. He deserves the views. Alright, so that's Misha's. Like, you know, some sort of alternate strats. And now I'll go through how to do chorus just by, like, highlighting a bunch of different examples of me going through chorus.
You couldn't see anything?
Alright, so me moving left, me moving right. I can see the blue spiral is opening up, so I'm going to enter the blue spiral. Enter the blue spiral. I can see now that this is a good chance to do an exit as well, because I can't keep moving with the spiral at this point. This is an example where moving with the spiral is certain death. Because, like, you'd have to be going along this edge, and then there's, like, no way to exit, so you have to leave the spiral. I'm leaving the spiral, and then I fail. And this is why I just want to bring up a bunch of examples, because I think it'll just highlight things better. Here we go. But this stream is one where I was, like, close to the double S, so there'll be a lot of examples of chorus here. Move to the left, move to the right. I can see that I don't get the chance to go through a blue spiral. This will happen sometimes. The RNG in this section is very rude. Sometimes you're not going to get the blue part of the spiral. But yeah, move to the left, move to the right, get ready to make an exit. I exit here, and you will enter the blue part of the spiral. So you will always get an opportunity to absorb some blues. It's just a matter of when you get it. And it's better if it gives it to you immediately, because I think getting the blues after you've exited the spiral is a bit scarier. But do keep in mind you need to absorb a few blues here, because otherwise you're not going to get the 32 for crash. Right, move here. I can see the spirals opening up on this side. Right, there's also one here, but that's way too sus, so I'm going to move through for this one, which means I have to drag myself all the way to the right. Drag to the right, move left, crash through the force lasers. I have decided to move myself right because staying on the left would be death, right? You just want to leave the spirals as much as possible because otherwise you get trapped on the wall. All right, I'm moving to the right here. I've moved all the way out here because I just don't want these void lasers, the aimed ones, to be in my way at all. I have to enter into this part of the spiral next, I'm seeing. And because of that, I don't want these void lasers to be anywhere near where I am. So I'm moving across here, and then the next set aims at the middle, which gives me a chance to move further left, right? Then I move further right. I'm looking for an opening to cross the spiral now, because again, if you follow it the whole way up, it's not going to work. Make a crossing here. This part opens up, which is nice, but then I moved back because it's quick, it scared me. Let's look for some more examples.
Any exam, you
Okay.
don't get your certificate.
Okay.
Like,
Left. Where is the opening here? This is one of the most difficult sort of decisions. When this, like, when the start of the spiral is right in the middle, because you're like, oh, should I go on the outside one or should I go on the inside one? Or like, however you want to describe it. In this case, I think I favor going for the one that has the blues in it.
they actually would like.
Yeah, so you could try and wrap around. And wrapping around is also dangerous, because if you have to wrap around, what it means is that when these lasers are aimed at you, when you're wrapping around, here's the thing, right? If you were trying to cross, the lasers probably ended up here. And if you try and wrap around, during that time, those void lasers would probably catch you. So it's probably safer to be on the right side of the spiral. Right, you move across, you try and get a few blue absorbs if you can, and then you cross out of the spiral. And then you move out. This is, again, if you end up in a situation where you deal with this, you might have to make 2 spiral crossings. Right, so I make one here. But then at this point, I might need to cross again. And so again, that's case by case. Sometimes it will open up well enough for you. Did I end up taking it? No, I decided to cross. And this is rude again. The second spiral here is sort of like it's opening here, but it's also opening here. So again, you can choose to go on the wall and then cross into this spiral, or you can cross this spiral and move into this section. It's just a mess. If you get that, you're really unlucky though. That's a very bad spiral positioning. Where's the next snake? Because I have a fair few in this VOD. Aha. Oops, a bit too far. Swing to the left, swing to the right. In this case, the spiral's opening here, so we're okay. Move here, get ready to make a crossing. Move right. In this case, I would keep moving to the wall because the spiral is opening up on this side. If you go on this side, you're going to die. And there's also blues in this one, which is nice. Crash. So you can see I've done a bullet clear there. If you can, do a bullet clear. That way you only need to worry about like whatever voids are remaining. And like the further up you are, the more clearly you can see which way in the spiral you have to go. So in this case, the spiral is opening up over here, so I'm going to lead myself over here, go left, go right, and then prepare to cross again. Move over. The spiral is opening up here, so what I have to do though, because this set of lasers are aimed and they're in the way, I have to move over here, then move left again. I could go wall, but again, I was too scared to go wall. So I lead it to the left instead. And then I tried to enter the spiral and it just didn't work. Which is unfortunate. Is this another one like straight after? Should be good. I'll probably finish up soon. We're almost at an hour. I think by the time we move through this VOD and stuff, we'll have reached an hour, so we're all good on that. Left, right, the opening's here, no blues, sadly, but again, when you exit this part of the spiral, you're going to get some blues, so it's okay. Move right, they're getting close, exit the spiral. Alright, get some blues along the way. You can see that they're opening up here, which means that you probably want to move to the wall so that you can enter this spiral. But I think I got... Oh, no, I'm good. I did the right thing. Keep moving. Force. Move over here. You can see the spiral opening up on this side. Lead the lasers away, lead the lasers away. Try and make a crossing. In this case, I go towards the wall because I'm too scared to go down here and make the crossing, but I think that would have been the best play. If you move through here, you can see that it's way harder to do a crossing when it's close to the wall. I make it though, apparently. Nice. No, I don't. Yeah. You don't want to make a crossing. Yeah, most of the time as well, I've been crossing in the middle, and that's because the gap that the red and the void makes is like slightly bigger in the middle here and like here. But then by this point, this is like very tight. So you want to make the crossing like in this area as much as possible. Right. Let's see. Just a couple more. Okay. Left, right, I can see the spiral opening up here, so I'm going to follow that spiral now. I'm going to make a crossing now. Keep following the spiral, check where the next opening is. The opening is over here or over here. This is very awkward again because the openings both look viable because this spiral opens up right in the middle. If you get a middle opening or like a spiral opening, sorry, not opening, starting in the middle, that's the worst case scenario. But the idea would be to move over here, lead the lasers over, then go into the spiral. All right, maybe one or two more. Left, right, blue spiral, got lucky. Now exit the spiral. Keep going with the spiral, check where it is. Yeah, yeah. You're going to die a lot in chorus. I think I can call it the least consistent part of the song. Probably the worst. But the problem is with the scissor lasers, like the rhino lasers or whatever you want to call them. They're just so fast that reacting to it is evil, but it's at least nearish to the start of the song. Whereas chorus is right at the end, which is quite rude. But it's a fun section. I think there's a lot of like the split second decision making you have to make is like it feels sort of fair. Sort of fair. Like it feels doable because you are making like a bunch of decisions that are doable, whereas with the lasers it's just like one single read, which is like half a beat long. And I don't know. At least this feels more satisfying to pull off to me. Move left. Oh, move right. Yeah, move left, move right. Spiral opens here, but it's too sus to, again, make swinging around into the spiral is usually quite unsafe. So you just want to stay on this side. Make the crossing. Move through here. This opens up, so I'm going to keep moving left now. Force. Spiral is opening up over here. Again, like you can see that I really don't want to enter onto the like swing around on the left. In general, that's just not a very safe option, even if it looks like it might be quite appealing. But you can see that these lasers cover up all of this section. So if you try and swing around, you're probably going to die unless you're hugging the wall. And at that point, is it even worth it? You go through here. I do my crossing. Do I die? Nope, I don't die. That's pretty good. Do you want to go on the left side or do you want to go on the right side? Again, going left, I think would have been okay here. But it's just something that I avoid a lot. Because it's just like I've had a lot of bad experience with it. Let's see how this sandwich goes. Crashing. Was that because it was hidden? So I crash. Yeah, okay. Sort of. There's a lot going on here. But the wiggly nature of these void kunais makes it so that you just have to be watching them the whole time. Otherwise you'll run into one. Alright. I think I'll leave it there. We've gone through a lot. Oh, I found one more. Let's do one more. Enter the blue spiral here. That is okay. Get ready to exit. Sometimes you have to like sort of shuffle the movements and keep moving left afterwards. Usually you want to go left and then swing back right. Sometimes you're going to run into this. That's okay. That's fine. Blue spiral opens up here. I'm going to start moving towards it. I'm going to swing out here so that the laser doesn't catch me. I don't
No.
know why I didn't crash. All right, so there you go. Comprehensive guide to how to do multiverse overload, not with crunchy audio or video quality. So this should be like the final version of the video. Hopefully this helps. One other thing I forgot to mention actually, which I've mentioned in the other version of video. Well, if you watch this far, I guess you deserve my individual help if you'd like. um, Red's Toad made an OSU map to practice the scissor lasers, like the rhino lasers, the scissor lasers, whatever you want to call them. Just in case if you're struggling with the timing for it, because again, it's half beat like movements, right? Um,
You actually
Red's Toad
literally
made an OSU map where you can practice this movement in OSU,
observe
but you can just
this.
practice it over and over again. So if you want that map, or like the OSU chart for that, let me know and I can send you the details, or let Reds know, or let Sans know. But probably I don't know, it'd be a bit of a bother to them if I told you about it. Just yeah, you can just DM me and then I'll send it through to you. If you want the practice, because I know it helped me to get consistency up a little bit.
How crazy
Uh,
is that?
it's good to just have like alternate ways to practice things because with multiverse, one verse song, you have to get up to that part of the song to practice it, and that can be quite tiring. Um, so let me know if you want the chart. Anything else before I end off? I need to make sure I don't forget anything. I made sure to include the fact that the scissor or rhino lasers alternate because Sans was like, you didn't say that. It's like one of the most obvious, not obvious, sorry, but like just one of those things where it's like assumed knowledge. But yeah, they alternate every time. Please remember that. Yeah, I think that's it. Cool. Well, good luck on your multiverse journey. I'm excited to see more overload clears, or even just lower. A lot of this is applicable to lower level multiverse. Some of it's not going to be exactly the same, like the intro is a bit different because it doesn't have all the aimed bullets, but it's easier, right? So usually you can process things a little better. A lot of the same sorts of tips will apply across runs. Even like the Void Snake strategy, you can use the same one. It'll just be less dense in high difficulties, things like that. And the chorus follows the same principle every time. Um, the force lasers are less evil in lower difficulties. You can probably like actually get the gap because there's a bigger gap. In Overload, there's just like almost no gap. But yeah, most of the principles here apply for lower difficulties too. So good luck if you're playing Multiverse at all on any difficulty, even if it's on easy. Clearing Multiverse easy, getting the S is really difficult. So I commend you for doing it. Send screenshots, show the noise chord, show me, show everyone, right? We're all chill people. um, but yeah, good luck. Good luck. It's a tough grind. My grind to get Overload double S took me over 150 hours. It's a hard chart, but you can do it. If you've made it this far, thank you for watching through this entire thing over an hour long. But hopefully that helps. All right. Well, I'll see you around. You and your S ranked multiverse score, whatever that is.